in, folks, to another edition of Dashtown. I'm excited about this. It's actually been a while since I've sat down with a local business owner, talk about their business, kind of expose folks in and around Fuquay, which of course Fuquay Varina's logo motto is a dash more. We've got a dash more here, folks, and that's what Dashtown is all about, kind of introducing those local businesses that we have here in Fuquay Varina to you. So I'd like to welcome in that effort, Dr. Colton Owczarzak with Iron Varsity PT. Welcome in.
Hi, good
Yeah.
to be here. Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you. Now we are a part of the same business networking group, which is how I came across you. But also, you've actually worked on my son, so trusted my most important, not possession, but most important thing to you and your care. Took great care of him. Great follow-up. So just before we even get going on what you do and what PT is all about and how people are maybe injuring themselves that leads them to you and then how you help them recover, like a personal testimony, Dr. Colton is fantastic. Educational, the follow-up. So enough talking from me. Dr. Colton, tell us a little bit about yourself, your practice, what you do.
Most definitely. So I graduated 2022, so not too long ago, a relatively young new clinician in the area. Found myself starting my own practice called Iron Varsity. And it's a faith-based Christian practice.
I noticed the 2717. I actually hadn't noticed that before, but in putting this up there, I noticed that, and then you've got the Bible verse down there.
Yeah. So iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens another is a big thing for us. The big thing is iron sharpens iron. In order to improve yourself, regardless of the industry you're in, you have to hone your own skills. You have to put in the work to forge yourself and develop into who you want to be. And so then the phrase also goes on to say one man sharpens another. So I work with my patients, I work with parents, I work with athletes, any individual I'm seeing to help sharpen their skills, hone them into where they want to be physically, and help promote a healthier and better life. I mean, you work so much, you work so often, especially with our adult population, that you want to continue to live that stuff. And like we've talked about before, you want to live and be with your kids, or even if you're older in life and you want to play with your grandkids, it's what we're all about, is just live life to your fullest.
Yeah. Now, you said, patients, parents, athletes. One of the things that you've talked about often with me is the forever athlete.
Yep.
Right. And you say athlete, it's maybe not somebody who's like even in competitive sports, right? But like we want to stay physically capable and able. And sometimes we get out of shape or sometimes we get injured, and that's not possible. And that's a lot of times where you come into the picture, right?
So I kind of brand it as the forever athlete. The idea and concept that it may shy some people away because they're like, well, I'm not an athlete anymore. I'm not in my 20s, 30s. I'm not playing professional sports or even club, but even playing rec sports or playing with your kids. You don't want to go out one time playing flag football or play a pickup game with somebody and not be able to do that. So that's where keeping people at athletic abilities is kind of forever is the way to go.
Yeah, there's a commercial running right now, and this will be out there for a while, so I don't know if it'll still be running. But the premise of the commercial, you see a guy eyes wide, and it's like, this is your classic tried to get up off the floor injury, not to be confused with a sneeze too hard injury. Like just regular routine life can hurt.
Yeah,
Getting out of bed, tying our shoes, standing up, sitting down, like these are things that we're not doing as much with the sedentary lifestyle. So how do you come in and kind of whip us back in shape a little bit?
Yeah. So first is kind of tell me a little bit about where you've been at or where you are. Get an idea of where are you currently at. And then we kind of start to explore, okay, where would you like to be? What is the big dream that you have that you want to be able to say and do and look back on your life? And, when you talk finances, it's never too late. And this is kind of one of the things we'll get into. What finding that dream. What do you want to be doing? If I could wave a magic wand and say you can get there and we can get there tomorrow, what would you want to do?
Yeah.
And really just lean into that. And we build a series of steps, a plan that fits your needs, of what you need, and time commitment and a schedule availability, so that it's attainable and it's not something that's, oh yeah, I'll get you there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Probably not going to do that. It's going
Right.
to take some time, but we can achieve your dreams, and there's no reason to give up on them. And you want to just enjoy life.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, is trying to live a better life.
I just want to be able to put my socks on without
Yep.
without seriously contemplating that sock buddy mechanism.
Yep.
That's like bending down, just simple things. But look, you get into much more advanced things than what I'm talking about
Oh, yeah.
too. Sports injuries
Yep.
and actually just maintenance as well, I know
Mhm.
is a big part. So where are you located? Because I think that's
Yeah.
a big factor people probably are going to need to know.
So I'm located within the Fuquay Sports Center. That's on Highway 55, heading towards Anger. When you're at the light for Sheets, and you can head out towards Anger, take a right, and then there's a big building. There's a gymnastics gym, and then Southwake Sports are in the front there. When you drive up the side, there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym called Shell Shock Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The owner there is phenomenal. He's been a great help to the start of my practice, so I have to give all thanks and praise to him, and just the ability to start, as well as to God for providing the connection, because it was actually through the pastor of my church who gave me that connection, who got us in conversation with one another, and so I've been there in the Fuquay Sports Center.
That's fantastic to make the connection and to be right here central in Fuquay, where there are a lot of athletes in that building, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, of course, kind of a natural partnership, I would think,
Yep.
for you, but like other gymnastics and
Gymnastics.
baseball training, all kinds of things in that building.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Used to be a flea market, by the way, for you old native Fuquay folks. It's where the flea market used to be.
Yeah, now it's between multiple like youth athletic shops. Rock Solid Warriors also in there, so they do some cool stuff. And then there's Big Church Alive that's kind of taken over a good chunk of the building. But
Yep.
it's an awesome building. A lot of great businesses. Definitely recommend checking them all out, if you ever need kind of different activities for kids.
All right. Well, what do people need to know? Maybe not even just about your business specifically, but about your profession, or when and where and how, what to understand about physical therapy, or maybe some misconceptions or misunderstandings about what you do.
Yeah. So a couple big things are to really consider for physical therapy. A lot of physical therapists are transitioning actually away from the insurance model and are going cash-based for a multitude of reasons. I mean, everybody's kind of seen the news of how insurance has gone for a plethora of reasons.
Yeah.
So physical therapy is very much kind of on that dividing line of a lot of small businesses are starting to turn towards cash based, just to make it more accessible to patients, more financially, it's actually more financially feasible, and then it better works within your schedule. Being that, some common reasons why you would come see me is to get evaluated for a sports injury. If you don't want to go to urgent care, you don't want to wait for an x-ray, they've got time out. If you can walk or you can move, you can move your arm, however such, come in, get it checked out, rule out any big concerns. Then we want to get you into the appropriate hands, and any good clinician is going to send you where you need to go. So if you did, sprain your ankle and we are suspecting a fracture, we will send you to get an x-ray.
Right. There's a time and place.
There's a time and place for that.
Imaging.
I'm not knocking any of that.
And that's where insurance probably is really beneficial to pay for those
big expenses
things.
For sure.
But also, you mentioned moving away from the insurance model, and we've talked about this. Like, insurance really limits people's ability to get well.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So first thing is with insurance, as a physical therapist, our hands are tied in a multitude of ways. The first one being is our visit limit. So every policy is slightly different.
Not the insurance.
The insurance visits.
Visit
So
limit.
the amount of visits you are given per your policy is different for every individual. And the even crazier thing is I can have 5 people that all work for the same company, but because they're in different tiers within their company, they all have different visit limits. I might have one person who could come see me every day, no visit limits whatsoever. I can have another person that has 10 visits and everything in between.
Does it have to do with the nature of the injury itself, or is this more just
This is just what your insurance and policy, who your policy is through and what you're given. So that means I can have a big one in kind of my realm is an ACL injury. So that is after a ligament within your knee that is torn, you go through surgery. It's about a year to 2 year recovery process.
Yeah.
Very extensive, need a lot of time and a lot of work to recover from that. I've had athletes who have had unlimited visits and can come and see me all the time, but a far more majority of them, they have around 10 to 20 visits. So I get 10 to 20 visits with them, and I have to spread that across a full year. If that's not, again, depends on when I start seeing them, but I have to spread that, say, across a full year and then go from there. And it's a very intense rehab process. It's not an easy one. Achilles is another one. So Achilles tears and ruptures. Rotator cuff surgery is another big common one.
Mm-hmm.
So our visit limits, once your visit limit is reached, one of two options happen. Either then you can, if the clinic has a cash-based model or cash-based ability, you can pay cash to continue your visits,
Mm-hmm.
or you can or you'll just have to go find a cash-based physical therapist.
Because you hit that visit limit, and not everybody within that regimented amount of visits is all the way better yet.
Yeah.
Like people out of work for
Mhm.
certain injuries, not completely functional and ready to go, but it's like, okay, now insurance isn't going to treat me. So does the injury just sort of quit improving and stay stagnant if we don't continue pursuing?
Yeah. So your injury that becomes kind of your hallmark basis, whether it's a young athlete trying to return back to sport, that becomes the injury. You hear it, I hear it all the time of, oh yeah, I had an injury 20 years ago, started rehab, didn't really finish for XYZ reasons. Visits are one of those common ones, and they stopped doing what they enjoyed, and that can persist for many years. And then even to like work, I had to change up my job because insurance didn't cover it. So I had to change and change up my whole profession and career options. And I want you to stay doing what you love.
Yeah.
And what you enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's the big one.
Yeah. So even if you're not an athlete per se, forever active, right? We want to try to stay active as much as possible.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of time pain prevents that,
Yep.
right? But I also you wanted to stress that pain does not always equal structural damage. So that's what imaging can sometimes rule out, but it does not always correlate to a break or a tear or a snap or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so pain is a very complicated thing, to be quite honest and upfront about it. We're still learning very much a lot about pain. My kind of best explanation is that the more you've experienced pain in your life, the more you have a better understanding of your pain. For example, I'll ask patients if they've ever broken a bone before, because if you've never broken a bone before, I can't describe to you what that feeling is like.
Yeah.
And that's a very big one. It's kind of surprising to me at how many people, they have
I've
different.
broken 5.
Yeah.
Four of them have been mine.
There you go.
All
There you
of them
go.
have been playing basketball.
Hey,
So.
at least you're having fun doing it. That's what
Yeah,
matters.
but that's like when you get out of your routine, right?
Mhm.
And then you don't end up going back, and your life changes a little bit as a result.
Yeah. So pain can be a very scary thing. It can be, I was actually just having a conversation with somebody earlier this morning about that very thing of nothing physically happened. They didn't feel a tear, a snap, they didn't break anything, but they've been having a really bad shoulder pain, just kind of recently started up on them. And again, that doesn't mean that structural damage isn't done, but through our kind of brief conversation, she did a lot more activity yesterday than her body was normally used to. Um, and so that kind of intermittent exposure, very new activity, heavy lifting, heavy volume of activity in a very short amount of time, uh, can lead to pain and pretty serious pain. So it's always kind of trying to quantify, okay, what does that feel like to you? Does it feel like a broken bone, or is this just a little bit minor than that, And then what did you do?
Well, that's one thing I appreciated about my personal experience again dealing with my son is that once you ruled out that acute like major injury was not a factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We ran through some tests and
Yeah.
you can probably get into that. But once you ruled out that this was not something that needed immediate acute treatment,
Yep.
it was more of a chronic thing that would need more exercise.
A little bit time and
you
refinement.
you were able to put together a regimen for him that had metrics
Yes.
to it
Yep.
that we could test and see improvement.
And that's the big thing is like once you've identified like the pain exists, you really got to put some numbers behind it. Because I can, throw the whole kitchen sink at you and we can try to work and make it better. But if what I've found to help is putting numbers behind an activity, or say, like take your son for example, we had him do some motions, or I assessed him. We put some numbers behind those assessments in different positions for his throwing, and then we retest him again, and he found whether there was pain or not. So that's putting numbers behind what it is you're feeling can help make the world kind of come to a full circle on, okay, how are we going to get better? And how do we know we're getting better? Because sometimes we can get lost in, well, the pain's still there. But you're stronger, so that's a step in the right direction.
Right.
We still just need, there's still something, there's a cause.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing we have to identify.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
Here's a tough one. I know everybody wants to know the answer to. Do I have to go to the gym to stay healthy?
Yeah. The simple answer is no, you don't have to go to the gym. That does add a level of difficulty with that.
It helps though, right?
It helps though. It
Okay.
helps. So I mean, it definitely makes it easier. You're more likely when you commit your time to doing something like that, you're more likely to be successful in achieving your goals. But you don't have to go to the gym. There's a reason why there's ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine, has some basic guidelines to be able to achieve various levels of physical activity. And that's kind of like everyone has to remember, that's the bare minimum. So I think everyone takes that and is like, okay, well, that's all I have to do. That's the bare minimum. We should strive a little bit higher for that bar so that there's room for cushion and protection.
Yeah.
So no, you don't have to go to a gym. Some people are, maybe anxious to go to a gym. So starting out with home workouts, finding a trainer that you can work on one-on-one with, is a solid, good way to go. And it helps with committing to that process too. So I'm going to help hold you accountable. That's at least my biggest thing is if you don't go to a gym, have a friend, have a family member, do an activity with somebody to help push you. Doing it by yourself it's difficult.
Motion and movement are key. Like there's,
Mhm.
I think it's the NFL that's like play 60 minutes a day or
Yep.
something like that. It's just having having that movement is really critical. Although I will say, and not a reason not to do it, right?
Mhm.
It is helpful to go to the gym.
Yep.
But accidents and injuries happen in the
In the
gym
gym.
too.
Yeah. So, find what you're comfortable with knowledge. I've worked with a couple of clients where I've started training them to be able to teach them basics and understandings of what it means to go to the gym so that they can either then go themselves and be safe, or they can go to another trainer and know what to look for. There's a wide world of online abilities or to trainings for people. So tomorrow, you too could be a personal trainer or anybody else. It's not a knock on any profession. It's just how do we vet your individuals? And I want to teach people what should you know and what should you look for.
Yeah.
So just always got to keep an eye on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. All right. So am I too old or too out of shape to get into shape?
That's another big one that I hear is that a lot of people kind of limit their age or limit behind their age, or they've stopped doing something because they were told to. Um, so it's never too old. It's just like you kind of know in the financial world, it's never too late to start saving your
Right.
money and putting your pennies away.
Right. Best
Um,
time to have started would have been,
Ideal is younger and
yeah.
earlier. However, it's never too late. Just recognizing, okay, you know, at 65, I'm not going to get you, back into the NFL or NBA or, you're not going to get there.
My dreams
But
of growing up to become a professional athlete, I think, have passed.
yeah, that's kind of the reality to that. But, you can still play with your son, play with your grandkids, enjoy your life, and probably have a lot more fulfillment in that.
And maybe for longer
And for longer.
if
I mean, you
you're
get
healthy.
to
Yeah.
stay and be active. Um, Research shows that older adults who strength train can improve muscle mass, bone density, and overall function. They can walk more. You can keep the walkers and the canes and all of that away. You can walk on the beach with comfort and excitement. So the more that you start doing strength training or get involved in any kind of physical activity, it helps your overall better basics of life. The way I tell people is if you're deadlifting and you can deadlift 200 pounds, that's the hardest thing you can do. Anything else below that, if you can, you can lift up your grandkids that are 50 pounds because you've deadlifted 200. So anything below that threshold becomes extremely easy. So that's why I'm a big promoter of it's never too late. Stay as active as you can,
So,
and
so,
just do all that
so
you can.
physical therapy, not necessarily just for people with injuries.
Correct. Yeah, so a lot of people will, what I'll see, especially this time of year, we're in the new year, so a lot of people have started their New Year's resolutions. They went and they got involved in a burn boot camp, an Orange Theory, different places that very high intensity. Love those places. CrossFit's awesome. Um, Highly recommend and encourage. Watching your volume is always the hardest thing. So what that means is you go from not doing anything or not lifting weights in, 10 plus years to all of a sudden you're now lifting weights in an hour and you're lifting very heavy. You want to be with everybody.
Yeah.
So over time, over a few days, couple weeks, you can get burnt out. Fatigue starts to set in, pain starts to set in, and it's just more from the fact that the volume was too quick. You went
Yeah.
from 0 to 100%. So I try to work with clients and patients on that progressive loading and being able to return to those things so that they can stay in those things.
Yeah.
I don't want people to come back to me because if you're coming back to me, it means something's wrong. And I would rather have you see and enjoy your activities and sports. Know that I'm here to help you when you do need it though.
When the pendulum swings suddenly to an extreme, though, like I'm not super active, I'm not super in shape, and then I go and sign up for the men's league softball team, and all of a sudden I'm running from first to second at full speed, not
Mm-hmm.
something I normally do, and oh, felt something pop or
Yeah.
twist the wrong way. That's where physical therapy really could,
Yeah.
or maybe the other way. Like I am a performer
Mm-hmm.
and then something happens and I'm not there. And now in the back of my mind, it's like, will I ever get back?
Yeah.
Can I ever get back to that performance level?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, going like hitting on the softball activity. I've had a lot of dads, moms get involved in the softball stuff. They sprint first to second, and they felt their Achilles or their hamstring pop, and that kind of shut them down. And they're like, "Can I still do that?" Yes. We're just gonna load you up. We're gonna get you back to a pain-free range. We're gonna work to help you improve your running tolerance, but then also not only address the symptoms, we're going to go and we're going to make you better than you were before so you can run to first to second, second to third, run home and score and not be concerned about that anymore. Um, and just keep moving from there.
And again, but it may not happen overnight.
Yep.
And there's some push of pain factor within the improvement itself, right?
Yep, yep. So a lot of people, again, yeah, kind of going back to, pain isn't structural damage. The way I'll talk about it with people or educate people on it is pain is like touching a hot plate when you're trying to cook or know if you can set stuff on your stove after you're done cooking, is you touch it, but you don't keep your hand there. So you touch it, feel if it's warm, and then you pull your hand away. If you keep your hand there, you're going to burn yourself. So you're going
Yeah.
to feel it. And that's very much how I teach people about pain. Let's work into it, see if it's there. Okay, let's back off. Okay, is it lingering or is it subsided? Okay, let's go again.
Mhm.
And we try to push that threshold so that you can tolerate more and your body knows it's okay to work within that range.
I think that there might be a mentality too that physical therapy automatically and only follows surgery, right? Is
Yep.
that this is the natural progression of the order of things. There is surgery and then PT, and people don't maybe think about going to the PT and skipping the surgery step, which probably would be good if we could.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I want to just be able to state that, like, surgery is definitely a needed thing in certain situations and times. But we also want to be, if we can save you from being under the knife, we want to try to. Surgery is a big thing for a lot of people. So, and it can be a scary thing to go think about going under the knife. So, when you do have that on the table or you're thinking about that, come see a physical therapist. Any clinician is great. Come talk to us. We're going to find out, okay, is this absolutely necessary for you to do, or can it be either pushed off, 20, 30 years? Can it, is it really an absolute need at all? So through an evaluation, we'll be able to assess and tease out, okay, is this just, this is, we can treat you. We're good to go. Okay, we need to send you to get a little bit more information, maybe give you or send you to see your doctor or urgent care, and then or yeah, you need to go see your surgeon. But coming to see us first will help save you, thousands of dollars, get a good screening and understanding, and then just, know that you don't have to go under the knife always.
Yeah. Now, again, time and place for it, where it's
Yep,
absolutely necessary.
agreed.
Do you see people being pushed to surgery where maybe, in your opinion, not quite necessary yet?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll see people have conversations way early on about surgery, and then once they've got that in their head, that's kind of like like their sole focus. There, I've been told it's not going to get better until I have surgery. Well, okay, why? Like, why? What is their reasoning for telling you that it can't get better? Is there so much damage and trauma to, say, the joint, maybe a hip, that yeah, surgery is your only way to go? Or is it, you kind of, you start most surgeons love them all. Most they have great skills, but sometimes you get so focused in on seeing, once you start seeing the signs and symptoms, there's an assumption, okay, this is where we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are starting to step back and say, okay, let's try conservative management.
Mm-hmm.
But I still see some that are pushing, hey, we need to get surgery now. And it's like, let's wait a little bit, let's assess, let's try conservative management, let's really give it your best effort.
I mean, not to knock any profession, certainly, doctors, I believe, want our
Mm-hmm.
best interest and want to treat and improve. But at certain times, like that's what they do, that is their profession.
Yeah.
Maybe, right? We get a second opinion on
Yep.
things, and
Yep.
would be good if surgery is being recommended for the hip or the knee or whatever the case is, the shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
before you jump right under the knife.
Yep.
Go and get a second look at things, and
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times I've found that like strengthening the muscles around joints can be pretty
Preventative.
productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was just talking with somebody who recently, they're looking at potentially having a hip replacement. That's why I bring it up. And through my evaluation, I showed them pictures of different hips to be able to say, okay, from an x-ray standpoint, when they look at your hips, this is what I'm looking for if I see an x-ray, and be able to assess, okay, like there's so much damage that, yeah, there's no joint space. The femur, the head of your femur is so destroyed that, yes, you need to go get it done and taken care of. Some people, it actually looks pretty good. We just need to strengthen up the muscles around and give you that stability and security, and that greatly helps. I think and so the gentleman I'm talking about, he's committed to the next month of, okay, we've built him a rehab process to help strengthen his hip, see where we can get. He's got he'll meet with his surgeon still just to, get a look and confirm. And, something that we've talked about, I definitely would like to talk with the surgeon so that I can say, hey, I want to be on the same page as you. I want to talk and know that we are in agreement, or where is the disagreement,
Right.
About why it is we may want surgery versus not going surgery.
Yeah. You mentioned, a protocol of a month to work and try to see that improvement. How long is that protocol going to last for someone? Like, I know it's not we can fix you overnight.
Yeah.
What's the timetable there?
Generally, if I can, for this patient in particular, I would give him 4 to 6 weeks. I see him once every
But
2
that's in
weeks.
particular.
That's in particular.
That's not going to
And
be
yeah,
for.
it's going to be very, very broad-based. So a broad-based answer would be just trying to give it's all going to depend on what is actually the cause of your symptoms, not the symptoms themselves.
Okay.
So if we have to identify what the cause is. That will give us a good understanding of, okay, we might be able to clear this up we can address it now, and then if you commit to, 2 weeks of strengthening, you'd be looking pretty good. If it's a case where, okay, how do I say it? Maybe 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, but we space out the visits so that it's not a big time commitment. We just have to figure out what works best for you.
We focused a lot on strength, but flexibility is big also.
Mobility is another big one. So, I can't change your physical anatomy. Your bones are the way your bones are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't move in a better light than what you are now. As we get older, we start to lose our elasticity, so our rubber band effect with our muscles and joints. So we stiffen up. Flexibility is something I highly promote. Doing yoga, Pilates. I've worked with a couple of professional players, athletes both in NBA, NFL. They do yoga and Pilates as well.
Yeah.
For top professional athletes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people's mind was blown when they figured out that a lot of professional football players take ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something completely different. You don't expect it will seem opposing, but it helps in other areas. And actually kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
Today's young athlete seems to be much more specialized in one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
When that's not actually what even professional athletes do. What's your take on that?
Yeah. So, as you get older, you can specialize more. So very early on, you kind of want to learn as much diversity in movement as you can. You want to be exposed to different sports. Anecdotally for myself, I played baseball, I did karate, and then I went to swimming and I played water polo. Taught me a variety of movements. I now do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's amazing the moves that I learned from water polo and how to, move people's body weight, manipulate them in the water and move around them has transferred to Jiu-Jitsu. So the more diverse your early on exposure is to different sports, the better off you'll be in the long term. So specializing in new sports can be rather stunting to your athletic ability.
Are you seeing overuse injuries rise significantly?
Very common. So big one, especially being here in North Carolina, baseball is a massive thing. UCL injuries, so Tommy John surgery is a big well-known one. A lot of people go for because they're playing 365, they're throwing every day, they're not getting a break. And the common thing I'll hear, especially from parents, is, oh, well, they're young, so they'll be fine. Well, if I asked you that same argument, I'm sure we could find something in your past you gave up because that same principle didn't hold up.
I mean, young car, 20-year-old car.
Yep,
Neither one's going to run really well with no oil and no gas in it, right?
exactly, exactly. It's all about how you treat it, and what things are you taking to best help set them up for their future. It's kind of like how you talk financially. The kind of more diverse your funds may be, the better off you'll be. If you've all got it in one place, something goes
I like
wrong.
how you understand the financial world too.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah.
All right, so probably wrapping up here, last couple minutes. We talked a little bit about insurance and that you're moving away from. Do you take insurance?
So the simple answer is no. However, the way we bill insurance is different than traditional models. So usually traditional model, I take your insurance, run your benefits. Okay, here's your benefits, and we utilize that. What I do is we pay you as a client pay up front for your care. I list out exactly what it is your care will be, exactly like ideally how many visits we're going to get through, give you a price point, very transparent on my pricing for any and all individuals, and then allow you to make your best call on what it is you want to go with. We can then bill that towards insurance in what's called a super bill at the end of your care. So we've got all the financials set up. We'll submit that super bill to your insurance. It'll get filed in your out of network policy or plan. And then sometimes insurance may kick back, they'll reimburse you a certain percent. Again, that one depends on your policy. That being said, some people very much want to meet their deductibles and then, okay, my care is free. Well, that comes with some handcuffs, and I don't think you really want to find those out too, because then it can get even more frustrating.
Yeah. And what I found, it really wasn't terribly more than the copays would have been anyway.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
anything else that you feel people need to know about Iron Varsity, about you, Dr. Colton Owczarzak, like your resource here in the Fuquay Arena community? You offer these services. Maybe who are you trying to connect with that your services would be of benefit to?
Most definitely. Coaches, whether that's like sports coaches, athletic coaches at schools, athletic trainers, fellow clinicians. There's a variety of sports performance facilities, so connection with all of them is a great way to go, and meeting with them just to learn how can we keep their clients their clients. How can you stay where you're at because you enjoy the environment, you enjoy where you want to be, and just be able to keep a good steady process going. I don't like when people have to give up what they love and do for a long period of time. The other thing too is just be able to give us a call, give us an email. If you've got general questions, you want a quick screen, I'm more than happy to do a screen, give you some information, help you answer questions like I did, with Braxton of like, hey, this is some things that we need to do, and then we can go on from there. We want to make sure that you have a good idea on what you want to, like, what is your care actually going to need to be. So even if it's just, hey, I've got a question, this is what I was told, feel free to reach out to us. And we're more than
phone number, website, email, any of that stuff.
Any of that stuff. So yeah, we have a website, ironvarsity.com, phone number 919-285-4596. Email is Colton at Iron Varsity. That's Colton, Colton, not En, at Iron Varsity. More than happy to help get you any questions answered that you need some guidance on.
Awesome. Well, hey, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking with you, talking about Iron Varsity, a resource here. Fuquay used to be all fast food restaurants. And then it became like there was a mattress store on every corner. And then the gyms started popping up. There's been kind of an evolution there. But, with all that, movement is key, eating right. But if you have a pain and ache, something not quite right, or you just want to stay active for longer, Colton Iron Varsity resource here in Fuquay Arena. So again, appreciate
Yeah,
it. Pleasure.
Of course. Thank you.